Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness, full summary. In a world filled with noise, rush, and endless striving for more success, more possessions, more validation, we have forgotten the simplest truth, that the purpose of life is to be happy. The Dalai Lama begins The Art of Happiness with this powerful reminder. He doesn't speak of happiness as a fleeting emotion, but as a way of being, a gentle inner light that survives the storms of life. Happiness, he says, is not something we find by chance. It is cultivated like a garden. It is nurtured with understanding, compassion, and balance. Every day, we plant the seeds of joy or sorrow through the thoughts we think, the words we speak, and the way we treat others. And perhaps this message has never been more relevant than it is now. In an age of anxiety and disconnection, where people smile in photos but cry in silence, the wisdom of The Art of Happiness is not just a book, but a medicine. It teaches us how to train the mind to see goodness where the ego sees lack, and how to find peace even in the presence of pain. So today, let's journey through the heart of this timeless book. Let's uncover the simple, beautiful principles that can turn your daily life, with all its chaos, responsibilities, and imperfections, into a living practice of happiness. Dalai Lama reminds us that happiness is not something the universe randomly gives to a lucky few. It's a skill, something you can learn, refine, and master. Just as muscles grow stronger with training, your capacity for joy grows stronger with awareness. When you start observing your thoughts instead of being consumed by them, you realize how much power you have. You don't have to believe every thought your mind throws at you. You can choose which ones to water. When stuck in traffic, instead of cursing the situation, breathe deeply and remind yourself, this is also life. You can use that moment to practice patience, listen to an audiobook, or simply watch the sky. Every morning, take 5 minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. Even the smallest things, warm tea, a smile from someone, or a quiet sunrise. This simple habit rewires your brain toward appreciation rather than complaint. Our suffering often has less to do with external events and more to do with how we interpret them. The Dalai Lama teaches that 2 people can experience the same situation, a loss, a failure, a rejection, and one will crumble while the other will grow. The difference lies in the mind's interpretation. Imagine your mind as a movie screen. Life projects all kinds of images onto it, some beautiful, some terrifying. You can't control the movie, but you can control how closely you stare at it. You can learn to step back, breathe, and see that you are not the movie, you are the screen. When someone criticizes you, instead of reacting defensively, ask yourself, is there truth in this? If yes, use it to grow. If not, let it pass through like a cloud across the sky. Whenever you feel anger rising, pause, take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, is this worth losing my peace over? Usually it is. True happiness, the Dalai Lama says, is impossible without compassion. Compassion opens your heart, breaks down walls, and transforms pain into understanding. It shifts your focus from me to we. And when you genuinely wish well for others, your own suffering softens. He often tells the story of a prisoner in Tibet who was tortured for years. When asked what he feared most, the man said, losing compassion for my captors. Imagine that, compassion so deep that even pain couldn't destroy it. That's the power of love without conditions. If someone cuts in line or speaks harshly, instead of taking it personally, think, maybe they're in pain. This single thought transforms irritation into empathy. Each night before sleeping, think of one person who hurt you and silently say, may you be free from suffering. May you find peace. It's not about forgiving instantly, it's about freeing your own heart. In the West, we're taught that happiness comes from having more. In the East, the Dalai Lama teaches that happiness comes from needing less. Contentment doesn't mean giving up ambition. It means freeing yourself from the endless chase. Think of your mind as a glass of water. If it's filled with mud, endless desires, comparisons, greed, the water is cloudy. When you stop stirring, it becomes clear again. The same happens when you pause the constant wanting. The next time you scroll through social media and feel envy rise, stop, take a breath, whisper to yourself, "What I have is enough." Feel that truth in your chest. Once a week, do a gratitude fast. Avoid buying or desiring anything new. Instead, spend that day appreciating what you already have: your home, your health, your loved ones. The Dalai Lama reminds us, you can spend your entire life trying to control external events, but true freedom only comes when you control your mind. The world is unpredictable. People will disappoint you, plans will fail, storms will come. But your inner weather, that's yours to shape. He compares the mind to a wild horse. If you let it run free, it will throw you off at the first sound of thunder. But if you train it with patience, you can ride it with grace, even through chaos. When someone says something hurtful, notice the immediate reaction, the tension in your body, the heat rising in your chest. Instead of acting, just observe. The observation itself is control. Each morning before starting your day, sit for 2 minutes in silence. Don't try to stop thoughts, just watch them pass. Imagine yourself sitting by a river, watching leaves float by. That's the art of training your mind. No one escapes pain. Loss, aging, sickness, these are part of being human. But the Dalai Lama draws a powerful distinction. Pain is natural. Suffering is created by the mind. He explains that suffering often arises when we resist pain, when we say, "This shouldn't be happening to me." The moment you stop fighting reality, pain becomes lighter. It transforms into wisdom. Think of life like waves in the ocean. You can either drown under them or learn to surf. The waves won't stop, but your relationship to them can change. When you face a disappointment, a failed goal, a lost opportunity, instead of spiraling into self-pity, ask, "What can this teach me?" Suddenly, the situation becomes a teacher instead of a punishment. Write a letter to your pain. Thank it for the lessons it brought. Whether it's heartbreak, failure, or loss, acknowledge how it shaped your strength. The Dalai Lama often says that peace is not found in isolation but in understanding. When you view others with compassion, the world softens. You realize that everyone, from a rude stranger to a cruel boss, is acting from their own pain and conditioning. Imagine walking through life wearing glasses that reveal everyone's wounds. You'd see fear behind anger, sadness behind arrogance, and loneliness behind cruelty. Suddenly, judgment fades and compassion blooms. The next time you're about to argue, pause and imagine the other person as a small child, scared, confused, or longing to be loved. Your tone will change instantly. For 1 week, make it your mission to respond to irritation with curiosity. When someone frustrates you, ask silently, "What might they be going through?" Watch how your peace deepens. Modern society confuses happiness with pleasure, buying, winning, achieving. But pleasure fades as quickly as it comes. Meaning, however, roots you deeply in life. Dalai Lama teaches that purpose gives direction to joy. It's not about having a perfect job or title. It's about contributing to something larger than yourself. When you wake up each morning asking, "How can I serve?" life itself becomes sacred. Instead of chasing endless distractions, ask yourself, "What can I do today that matters?" It could be a small act, helping someone, listening deeply, or sharing kindness. Write down your top 3 values, the things that truly matter to you. Each evening, ask yourself if your actions reflected those values. This awareness builds integrity, and integrity breeds joy. Holding on to anger is like carrying a burning coal in your hand, waiting to throw it at someone, but it burns you first. The Dalai Lama teaches that forgiveness is not about excusing another's actions. It's about freeing yourself from the poison of resentment. When you forgive, you don't erase the past, you release its grip on your heart. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's an act of strength. It says, "I will not let this wound define me anymore." Think of someone who wronged you, maybe a friend, family member, or coworker. Imagine sending them light, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say quietly, I release this pain. I choose peace instead of bitterness. Repeat until your chest feels lighter. One of the Dalai Lama's most profound lessons is impermanence. Everything changes, the seasons, your emotions, your body, your relationships. Suffering arises when we resist this natural flow. If you learn to see life as a river, constantly moving, never the same, you stop clinging and start flowing. Even pain becomes bearable because you know, this too shall pass. The next time you're stuck in sadness or anxiety, remind yourself, this feeling is temporary. Like clouds drifting across the sky, emotions come and go. You are the sky, vast, unshaken. Every evening, reflect on one moment from your day that you wanted to last forever, and one you wished would end. Then, visualize both dissolving into the same ocean. That's impermanence, everything equal, everything changing. Dalai Lama often says, we are social animals. Our happiness depends on others. You can have money, success, and freedom, but without love, friendship, and belonging, the soul remains empty. When you connect with others through kindness, you activate something ancient within you, the deep human need to care and to be cared for. Real happiness grows when you share your light. Call someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Ask, how are you really? Listen without rushing to respond. That simple act can heal both of you. Each day, perform one small act of kindness, anonymously if possible. Hold the door, smile, leave a kind note. Watch how it changes your mood. Happiness shared is happiness multiplied. The Dalai Lama ends his teachings with a truth that echoes through all spiritual traditions. The meaning of life is to be useful, to serve, to love. The surest path to happiness is to ease the suffering of others. When you forget yourself in the act of giving, your heart expands. You realize that joy is not something to chase. It's something you become when you live in harmony with compassion. When you wake up, whisper to yourself, today, I will bring light to at least one person. Then do it not for reward, but for the quiet joy it brings. Once a week, dedicate 1 hour to selfless service, volunteer, comfort a friend, or even offer a kind word to a stranger. Watch how your own problems feel smaller afterward. So what is the art of happiness really about? It's not a manual for escaping life's difficulties. It's a guide for walking through them with grace. It's the realization that peace does not come when everything is perfect. It comes when you stop demanding perfection from life. The Dalai Lama shows us that happiness is not hidden in distant dreams but present in this moment, in your breath, your kindness, your awareness. Every day gives you hundreds of chances to practice it. When you choose patience over anger, gratitude over greed, understanding over judgment. Remember, your mind is your greatest artist. With every thought, you paint your reality. Choose colors of peace, compassion, and love, and your life becomes a masterpiece of quiet joy. And so, as you close your eyes tonight, repeat these words softly to yourself. I am learning the art of happiness. I am the painter of my peace. Call to action. Practice gratitude every morning, 3 things, no matter how small. Respond to conflict with empathy, not ego. Serve someone today without expecting anything back. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be present. Because when you live in presence, kindness, and compassion, you don't just find happiness, you become it. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for being here and supporting this journey.